And when the subsidies run out, of course, we're going to get walloped all over again. Labor and Chris Bowen cannot say they were not warned, and neither can voters. News today that our economy is slowing further, so that under Labor we have plunged once more back into a per capita recession. Wow, those good times didn't last long, did they?
We shouldn't be surprised.
And one of the major factors holding our economy back is
a con man.
Of course, I am
a con man.
That's my style. I hope you've noticed that.
I had my say last night about the absolute lunacy of net zero by 2050, the ridiculous emissions reduction target that Australia has signed up to but has no hope of meeting, and which would not change the global climate one iota, even if we did meet it. Well, now let me update you on the insane cost of this madness and how it's about to push up your power prices
by 275.
Australians are not getting the cheaper energy Mr Albanese promised them.
And remember, when your increased electricity bill hits your family budget, it also adds to the burden on small business and on major industries, and it fuels inflation, pushing up the cost of just about everything. So it's not just the hip pocket pain, it's the undermining of all of our economic prosperity. Energy is the lifeblood of the economy, and that's why I call our climate policies an act of national self-harm.
Australians need to wake up.
The truth is that
the Institute of Public Affairs did some work tallying up the annual cost of government spending on these policies, and it totals a staggering $9 billion a year, an annual spend that has increased 400%.
And that's a tribute to Anthony's leadership.
That's direct taxpayers' funds, $9 billion a year. For comparison, that's about as much as we spend on our Air Force. But the $9 million on the Air Force helps keep us safe. The $9 billion on net zero policies makes us weaker.
And it sickens me to see this Prime Minister. He is so weak.
Anthony Albanese.
He's weak, he is gutless.
That's who I am.
Because there's tens of billions of dollars worth of private investment in renewable energy and transmission and storage, all taking advantage of the government rules and subsidies, and we all end up paying for all of that too in our electricity bills.
Here's our policy. What impact will it have? And the impact...
You are heading towards energy poverty. More and more Australians are finding out.
And we're all about to be hit by another rise in our power bills, up to 10% starting next month, taking the average household bill to about $2,000 a year.
$275.
Remember, Labor promised to cut power bills by $275 a year. There's now about a $1,000 gap between their promise and the reality for families. And while the government is forcing power prices up, it's also spending more of our money on subsidies to push them lower, temporarily. Just enough, I suppose, to get them through that election cycle, really.
Australians are not getting the cheaper energy Mr Albanese promised them. He lied to them, basically, didn't he?
Yes. And today I'll make this point. That
without government cash rebates, which have cost the federal government a separate $6.8 billion, electricity prices for households alone would have increased 17.6% since June 2023, according to the ABS. That's an extra $6.8 billion on top of the $9 billion a year. And when the subsidies run out, of course, we're going to get walloped all over again. What a shambles. What economic vandalism. And here's the kicker. This really is risible. The Department of Climate Change showed last week that emissions rose 0.05% in 2024, with electricity emissions up 2.2% due to high demand and lower hydro generation.
there's no question that renewables, as the shift, will reduce prices. That's why the investment is going there.
As I said, you've got a liar in the lodge.
All that taxpayers' money, all that expense and pain, and emissions rose anyway. If we weren't crying, we'd be laughing our heads off. So this is national energy self-harm. Plenty of economic pain for no environmental gain. But it's all okay, apparently, because we've got some Demtel guy as the Climate and Energy Minister.
What more could you want?
30% of the cost of a battery.
But I know you want more. If you ring us in the next 15 minutes, Demtel will include this
Discount on solar panels, so it makes the whole package a lot cheaper. And if you don't have solar panels and a battery at the moment, putting both in will save, on average, a typical family more than $2,000 a year in energy costs.
even if you don't have a credit card. Ring now.
Cheaper home batteries, getting on with the job of delivering the policies we took to the election.
I mean, is he going to throw in a set of electric steak knives?
But there's more. A paring knife and this really useful cleaver. This is one knife you'll really love.
All this talk of knives has given me a stiffy.
Boner, it gets better, as well as a cheese knife.
Respectfully, I think that renewable energy is the cheapest form of energy.
Yeah, sure, you save that $2,000 a year. As long as you spend $25,000 or $35,000 installing all this stuff in the first place, and as long as you overlook yet more taxpayers' money subsidising this stuff, and as long as you overlook how all this solar in the system is actually destabilising the grid and making it harder to provide reliable supplies all the time.
It's just called science and maths.
We are in a world of pain. It's only going to get worse, and Labor is doubling down on their world-first renewables plus storage model, an engineering feat so expensive and unreliable that no other country has even dared to try it. The only country that's gone close is Spain.
And we know what the consequences of that have been.
The whole of Spain and Portugal went dark in April, as Bjorn Lomborg pointed out how that blackout showed the price and supply risks of renewables. Prices are high in no small part because solar and wind require a duplicate backup energy system, often fossil fuel driven, for when the sun doesn't shine or the wind doesn't blow. The Spain and Portugal blackout on the Iberian Peninsula shows that the reliability issues and costs of solar and wind are worse than even this sort of data indicates.
You don't get ahead of yourself. You know, everything in life's a bonus. Some people have said...
We've had the whole state of South Australia blacked out. We've had soaring prices. We've had warnings that the whole grid has been running short of electricity generation, yet we're doubling down on a dubious plan. Labor and Chris Bowen cannot say they were not warned, and neither can voters.
Of course they are. I think everyone would say that. I think normal Australians at home also look around the world and know that people around the world are dealing with similar issues. With great respect, it's disingenuous and dishonest of you to blame all this on renewable energy as you do on Sky in the evenings. It's just not right, sir. It's just not fair.